Hi, Mateo. Good evening.
Good evening, teacher. How are you?
Doing fine. I was waiting. It kicked me out of the meeting. I think I did it myself because I was sharing it live. And then you get this message like, this meeting is being shared in YouTube. Do you want to continue? And I, instead of clicking on yes, I clicked on no.
Oh yeah, that was a strange situation.
Yeah. Do you get the message as well?
Yeah, I've got it too.
I didn't know if students also. Okay.
Oh. Sure.
So now that Walter's here as well. Today we're going to continue working on the speaking section. On Friday, we finished seeing the first question, the independent one. So today we're going to be moving on to the second task of the speaking, the second question. We're going to be seeing the theory today, and tomorrow we'll be practicing. We'll only have 2 classes for this question. So for all of the questions from now on. So today is going to be our theory for task 2, tomorrow our practice session. Then on Thursday, we'll be seeing task 3 already, and on Friday, practice. Then next Monday, we'll start task 4, and on Wednesday, we'll practice. Okay, guys? Do you have any questions, perhaps, before we start?
No, teacher, everything's fine. I'm sorry for the delay.
Okay, no problem. We are just on time. Okay, guys, so let's take a look at the second question. Starting from the second question, we're now dealing with integrated questions. Do you guys remember what an integrated question was? Anyone? It was basically when you have to integrate different skills. Remember in the first question, it was just a question and then you needed to speak. But in this case, you will have to both read something and hear something before you get to speak. So that means that it's not just about speaking well, but it's also about understanding the content well. So you need to show understanding of the material that is going to be given to you, which is both reading and listening material. Okay, guys, so that's why it's integrated, because you have to integrate different skills. Let's take a look at what you guys will have to do for the second question. The first thing that you have to do is step number 1. Mateo, could you please read what we have on these little box?
Sure, teacher. Read a university letter on a proposal or announcement decision. 45 seconds.
Exactly. So that is the first step. You get to read a short text, a short letter, and you have 45 seconds exactly to do so. They will obviously show you a timer counting down your 45 seconds, and you get to read the text. You can take notes whenever you want throughout the entire test, remember. And then the second step is the listening part. So, Walter, could you please read the second step?
Okay, so we have to listen to a conversation where 2 students discuss the letter. And it takes 1 minute approx. 1 minute approx.
Okay, exactly, nice. So that's what you guys have to do on the second step. After you read the letter, you get to listen to a conversation between 2 students, and it's usually about 1 minute long. And finally, you will get a question that is going to ask you to summarize the conversation, but making sure to explain how it's connected to the letter, to the reading. And you guys will get, after you read the question, 30 seconds to prepare. Do you remember how many seconds you had for the previous question to prepare?
To prepare 15 seconds.
Exactly. So yeah, now you get twice as much. You'll get 30 seconds to prepare. And instead of having 45 seconds to speak as the previous one, you'll have now 1 minute to speak. Okay, guys, so to summarize, first you read for 45 seconds, you read a letter, then you listen to a conversation between two students for 1 minute. Finally, you get the question, 30 seconds to prepare and 60 to speak. All right, guys. Is that okay? Do you have any questions about that, perhaps?
Yeah, it's okay, teacher. Thanks.
Okay, Mateo, thank you. Okay, guys, so I'm going to show you a video so that you get to see how it's actually going to be on your screen the day of your test. I want to make it, let's see. I want to show you guys how it will be.
Number 2. In this question, you will read a short passage about a campus situation and then listen to a talk on the same topic. You will then answer a question using information from both the reading passage and the talk. After the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. The university is making a change in the courses it will offer. Read the article from the university newspaper about the change. You will have 45 seconds to read the article. Begin reading now. Now listen to two students discussing the article.
Okay, guys. So as you can see, first you will get the instructions. They will tell you exactly what we said before. Then you will have to read the text for 45 seconds. And as you can see, you will get a timer on your screen showing you the time that you have. You will get a text to read. And that's pretty much it. You have to wait your 45 seconds to read the article. Then you hear the conversation. And to answer some potential questions, you won't be able to continue reading while you're listening. Okay, guys? You listen, and what you see on your screen is just a picture of two students. So you listen to the conversation, and after you listen, after the conversation ends, this is what you will see.
The woman expresses her opinion of the university's plan. State her opinion and explain the reasons she gives for holding that opinion.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
Okay, guys? So as you can see, you get the question, which asks you to talk about the conversation, but also we're going to see what it asks you to do. But pretty much you get the question, you get 30 seconds to prepare, as we said. You get a timer, of course, and then finally, after the 30 seconds are over, you will hear something like this. Begin speaking after the beep. And then it sounds beep, and then you got to start speaking, right? Whatever you do during those 60 seconds that you have to speak will be recorded. That means that you need to use those 60 seconds entirely, right? You can't stop the response when you want. You need to, well, whatever you have or you record during those 60 seconds is going to be used for your evaluation. So you better do your best during those 60 seconds. And after the time is over and you get 0 seconds left, you will hear another beep, and that means that you gotta stop. Even if you continue speaking, they won't record anything else, so you gotta stop. Okay, guys? So what do you think about this? Do you have any questions now that you've got to see an example as well? Okay, guys, great. Then without further ado, let's just go ahead and see an example. And let's see what exactly you guys have to do. I'm going to tell you step by step what to do throughout this entire question. So the first thing that you get is the reading. So what do we do in the reading? So technically you have 45 seconds to read this. Now, I don't want you guys to be reading just because you have to read. You guys need to become active readers when you're reading this. And you guys are going to be looking for 3 specific things. First of all, what is this that you're reading? As we said before, this is a letter about a university. Now, it could be an announcement made by the same university, by the administrators of the university, or it could be a letter from a student as well. It doesn't matter at the end. What matters is that this letter is talking about a change in the university. It's always going to talk about a change in the university. What do I mean by a change? Basically, something is changing, you know? So let's say the menu of the cafeteria in the university is changing. Let's say that the schedules are changing of one class. Let's say that perhaps the bus service is changing. The routes are changing of the bus service. Maybe they are adding a new class or eliminating another class. Maybe they are hiring a new manager. Maybe they are, I don't know, throwing a party. But there's always something new, you know, there's always a change, something new in the universe. Now, what you guys will read in this text, and the 3 things that I was telling you, you have to be looking for, the first one is the change. So you always need to be, first of all, identifying what the change is. So what is happening in the university? What is a change? The second and the third things that you guys need to look for are the reasons for this change. You will always have 2 reasons why this change is happening, has happened, or will happen, because this can be something that has already happened, that is happening right now, or that will happen in the future. We don't know, but you will always have the change and 2 reasons. Reason number 1, reason number 2. Let's come back to our examples and imagine that they are changing the menu of the cafeteria. So what are the reasons? Maybe the first reason is that they want healthier food, that students have said that they want healthier food. So that is the first reason. And maybe the second reason is that they want to save, or they want to make cheaper meal plans. So they are going to change the menu to make it cheaper. So you have 2 reasons. Making the food healthier and making it cheaper. You will always have 2 reasons. No matter what change you have, there's always 2 reasons. And when you guys are reading, you're actively looking for that information, the change and the 2 reasons. Okay, guys? So, could anybody read? Does anyone want to read these texts?
Maybe I do, teacher.
Yes, of course, Mateo, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. University administrators announced yesterday that the sculpture program, a division of the art department, will be eliminated. The main reason is a lack of students' interest. reported one administrator. Although the number of art students has increased, fewer and fewer art majors are taking sculpture classes. Furthermore, the department's only sculpture professor is retiring this year, giving the art department's a limited budget. The administrator explained it just doesn't make sense to hire a new full-time professor to teach sculpture for only a handful of students.
Okay, perfect. All right. So first of all, can you tell me what is the change in this case? What is the university doing?
Teacher, the university is eliminating one section of the art department, the sculpture program.
Exactly. They are eliminating a division of the art department, the sculpture program. Perfect. Okay, guys, that's great. That is a change. Now, can you tell me what the two reasons are? What is the first reason?
The lack of a student interest.
Exactly.
First reason.
Second reason?
Second reason, there are fewer and fewer art major who are taking sculpture classes.
But that is first reason.
Okay. Oh, it's connected. I'm realizing. Okay. Second reason that I understand that the unique professor in the department sculpture is retiring this year.
Exactly.
2023, I don't know.
So yes, the other reason is that the only professor in the sculpture program is retiring. Or remember that there's a difference between unique, which is an adjective to describe something. You know, when something is unique, that means that it's special, it's different, rare, but only means that there's only one. So the only professor is retiring. Exactly.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the fact, teacher.
Okay, sure. So great, perfect. Those are the three elements that you need to be looking for when you're reading. Now, I know that you don't have a lot of time to be doing what I'm doing right now, but at least you should, my advice, what you guys have to do. Remember that you'll get the text. Usually you get the title first. Now, to be honest, I don't want you guys to pay too much attention to the title because sometimes it can be confusing the way that it's phrased. Obviously, it's related to the topic, to the change. As you guys can see, sculpture courses to be discontinued. It is definitely related to the change, but there are some cases in which it's a little bit tricky to pay attention to the title. So read the title, but don't take it too seriously. But the change is the first thing that you should be looking for. Okay, normally you're going to find the change in the first few sentences. So it's pretty easy because they go in order. You find the change, so you start reading. University administrators announced yesterday that the sculpture program will be eliminated. That's it. That's the change. As soon as you find the change, what I want you guys to do is to take notes. So write it down. A sculpture program eliminated. Okay, guys, that is something that you gotta have on your notes. If you don't, then you're not going to be having such a complete response. That is the first thing. You have written that down and then you continue reading, okay? I don't want you guys to read everything first and then take notes. First, look for the change, write it down, and then go back to the text and continue. Then you continue reading, and now you want to read a little bit faster, looking for the two reasons. If you have enough time to do so, take notes on the reasons, but if not, don't worry about it. I just want you to read and to make sure that you understand what the reasons are. Lack of interest, professor retiring. right? It doesn't take too much time to write that down, because obviously you're not writing down complete sentences. You are only taking notes of the keywords, Sculpture eliminated, lack interest, professor retired. That's what you should have in your notes. Okay, guys, but technically, remember that the most important part is for you to catch the change. Okay, guys? Is it okay so far? Any questions? Okay. Now, another thing that I want to say here, and I'm going to say it in Spanish, okay? Because I want to make sure that you guys all get it. Siempre en el cambio va a haber un verbo. Los verbos son las acciones. Por ejemplo, ¿cuál sería el verbo en el cambio? ¿Qué se está haciendo? Siempre pregúntense qué se está haciendo, qué se va a hacer, qué se hizo.
Eliminate.
Eliminate. That's the verb, that's the action, ¿no? Eliminate. Siempre cuando estén tomando notas, quiero que empiecen por el verbo. Es decir, no tomen notas. Por ejemplo, acá, esto está en voz pasiva. Voz pasiva significa cuando empezamos con Sculpture Program will be eliminated, ¿no? Ese es el cambio que tenemos. Pero no quiero que lo escriban así, ni tampoco Sculpture eliminated. ¿Por qué? Porque lo van a decir de diferente manera. Para que se les haga más fácil, siempre que esté en voz pasiva. Perdón, voz activa. Do you guys know what an active and passive voice is? Básicamente, en una explicación rápida, la voz, siempre en una oración tenemos un verbo, ¿no? Una acción. Ahora, está la persona o la cosa que realiza la acción, que es el doer, el que realiza la acción, le vamos a llamar doer. Y también está el que recibe la acción, el recipient, ¿no? El recepcionista. Ahora, la voz activa siempre pone primero al doer y luego al recipient. En este caso, si nuestro verbo es eliminate, tenemos que preguntarnos ¿quién? ¿Quién va a eliminar el programa? La universidad, ¿verdad? Entonces, el doer sería la universidad. El verbo es eliminate. Y el recipient es lo que le sigue al verbo. Es decir, the university will eliminate the sculpture program. ¿Verdad? Tenemos primero el doer, el que realiza la acción, luego tenemos el verb, y luego tenemos el recipient, el que recibe el verbo, ¿no? ¿Qué va a ser eliminado? El sculpture program. Entonces siempre quiero que esté sus notas en este orden. Primero el doer, luego el verb y luego el recipient. Obviamente el doer no es necesario anotarlo, porque se supone que es la universidad, ¿verdad? Entonces no necesitan anotar el doer. Pero siempre quiero que esté en este orden. Primero el verbo y luego el resultado del verbo. Por ejemplo, si tenemos, el cambio es the menu of the cafeteria will be changed. Ustedes lo que tienen que escribir en sus notas es change menu. En vez de menu changed, change menu. Primero el verbo y luego el recipient. ¿Okay? Si tienen, por ejemplo, the bus service will be discontinued. Entonces, primero ponen el verbo, discontinue, y luego ponen bus service. ¿Okay? Eso es para ayudarles a que se les haga más fácil cuando estén hablando, porque van a hacerlo en ese orden. Primero el verbo y luego de lo que estén hablando. Usualmente siempre va a ser la universidad, el doer. El doer no es necesario, pero siempre el verbo primero y luego el sitio. ¿Se entiende esta idea de cómo tomar sus notas?
Yes, teacher, but in that is in where the menu is going to be changed. For example, the doer would come to be a restaurant.
If you mean the menu of the cafeteria?
Yeah. The menu of a cafeteria, you said? Okay. So the
Yes.
doer is the cafeteria.
Yeah, the cafeteria, but the cafeteria of the university, right? Remember that everything here is going to be about university. So the doer,
Yes.
technically, is always going to be the university.
Yes, only to visualize, right? Yeah, it's clear. Perfect.
Lo primero es que ustedes que vean el verbo de la acción, ¿ok? Porque van a empezar, cuando empiecen a hablar, su introducción va a contener ese verbo al principio. Y siempre hay que empezar con el verbo. Entonces, lo que van a decir, me adelanto un poco, es the student in the conversation is against the idea of eliminating the sculpture program. Is in favor of the idea of eliminating the sculpture program. Lo mismo en cualquier otro caso. The idea of changing the menu of the cafeteria. The idea of eliminating the bus service. The idea of hiring a new professor. The idea of, I don't know, playing music in the lobby, for example. Siempre el verbo principal. Ok, van a ver que con ejercicios vamos a practicar esa parte, pero hasta acá. Okay, guys, muy bien. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to hear the conversation. Now, how is this conversation going to be? In this conversation, you guys will always hear two students. These students are obviously part of the university that we're reading about. And what are they going to talk about? They're going to talk about the announcement or the letter that you just read. You will hear these two students discussing, talking about that thing that you read. Now, hear me out. Here's the thing. You have two students. It's always going to be a female and a male student. Siempre hombre y mujer, female and male. Now, out of these two students, only one of them is going to be the one that matters. Only one of them is important, and you only care about one of them. Okay? Which one? I don't know. You guys have to figure it out. But one of these two students is going to have a strong opinion about that change. So this student, either the female or the male, will be completely against the change or completely in favor or supporting the change. You guys have to hear, you have to pay attention and look for that information. So first thing that you guys have to ask yourself, first question that you need to answer when listening is the female or the male student the one that matters? Who's the main student, the female or the male? That's the first question you gotta answer. Second question, what does this student think about the change? Is he or she against or in favor? Okay, that is the second thing that you guys need to hear when you're listening. And finally, this student, whoever this person is, will always give you two other reasons why they are in favor or against the change. Okay, guys, remember that you already had two reasons here in the reading, but in the listening, this student will give you other two reasons. So you guys gotta pay attention to that. And of course, you have to take notes, okay? Because you will only listen to this once. And to be honest, your response is mostly going to be about this, about listening. That's why I told you to not to worry too much about the reading. As long as you get the change, it's okay. But it's the opposite in the listening. In the listening part, you guys need to pay attention and look for the detail because you gotta explain the things that you say. It's not just about mentioning them briefly, but explaining them exactly what the students say. So pay attention, take notes, look for those four things: who the main student is, what his or her opinion is, and what are the two reasons that they give. And write down your notes. Okay, guys? What do you think about that? Do you have any questions so far? You guys ready to listen? Are you guys?
Yes,
Yes,
teacher. Sure. I'm ready.
Okay, guys, so remember to get a piece of paper. I'm going to play the conversation now, and I will ask you later to answer those questions we talked about. So let's see.
Now listen to two students discussing the article.
Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm just upset about that article I showed you this morning.
Why? What's the big deal?
Well, as an art major, I think it's a big loss for the department. The university's got it all wrong.
What do you mean?
Well, the low enrollment isn't because art majors don't want to take these classes. Problem is, who has time to take them when there are so many other requirements?
I don't understand.
See, the classes they're eliminating are all optional. The required courses are mostly painting and drawing, and they take up all our time. What we really need are different requirements. Then art majors could take a better variety of classes, all the things we're interested in.
That makes sense. But the thing about the professor...
Well, that's true. But still, they're being drastic. If money's the problem, they could hire a part-time professor. Or most of the professors in the department have secondary fields.
Really?
Yeah. At least a few painting teachers are also great sculptors. I'm sure one of them could teach a class.
Hey guys, conversation. Let's talk about what we heard. So remember, this is how I suggest you guys teach. Really, try to always stay organized with your notes in general, in every section. So here we have the change. The sculpture course will be eliminated. We have the two reasons from the university side, from the reading, lack of interest, professor retiring. Now, first of all, I want you guys to tell me who was the main student. Was he the female or the male student? The guy or the girl?
The girls. I will
The
say the female teacher.
Yes, you guys are both correct. So yes, it was the girl. It was the female student, the one that has the strong opinion. So one thing that I forgot to say. As soon as you guys identify who the main student is, and you're like, oh, okay, so she's the one. As soon as you guys hear that, then I want you all to write down on your notes in big letters, in capital letters, and something that you can really see when you're speaking, the pronoun. So in this case, it was a female, so we're going to write down she, but I want you guys to write it down big so that you can see when you're speaking. Okay, because sometimes many students get confused with the pronouns. And to be honest, it's quite easy to forget when you're nervous and you have to remember the information. So sometimes you forget about the pronouns. You're like he, she's, he, she, and then it's confusing. So you write down she. If you want, you can also write down her, but it's not very necessary. As long as you have she, it's okay. Now, tell me, was she against or in favor of this idea?
She's against.
Exactly. You write down the word against. Now, why is she against? What is the first reason that she gives?
She said that the elimination of the sculpture division is a big loss for the department, for the art department.
Okay, and why?
Oh, I didn't remember. I don't remember very well. Maybe it was a drastic decision. I don't remember why.
Okay. To give you a hint, she said something about what the university said, that there's a lack of interest from students. She denies that there is a lack of interest. What does she say?
Now, students are interested and more motivated, and I don't remember hearing in the sculpture division. I couldn't take no notes about that, but yeah, at least
I remember, well, I take some notes, and I remember that there is no time to take this class because there are too much requirements.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So yes, technically, what she says is that, as you guys said, first of all, she denies that there is a lack of interest. She says that students are interested, they want to take these courses, but the problem is that they don't have time to take these courses because there are a lot of requirements for art majors, like drawing and painting. And even if they wanted to take the courses, they don't have time to. So what the university should do, according to her, is change the requirements so that students can take the classes they want. Let's play this part again. I want you guys all to hear. See.
Yeah, I'm just upset about that article I showed you this morning.
Why? What's the big deal?
Well, as an art major, I think it's a big loss for the department. The university's got it all wrong.
What do you mean?
Well, the low enrollment isn't because art majors don't want to take these classes. Problem is, who has time to take them when there are so many other requirements?
I don't understand.
See, the classes they're eliminating are all optional. The required courses are mostly painting and drawing, and they take up all our time. What we really need are different requirements. Then art majors could take a better variety of classes, all the things we're interested in.
Not
Right, so she says that the students are interested, but they don't have time due to the requirements. Is that okay? Okay, so they are interested, but have no time because of required courses. Hey guys, what about the second reason? What does she say?
She said that the professor can teach with a part-time or extra time. I understand that.
Okay. Anyone else? Let's hear the second part again.
that makes sense. But the thing about the professor,
Well, that's true. But still, they're being drastic. If money's the problem, they could hire a part-time professor. Or most of the professors in the department have secondary fields.
really?
Yeah, at least a few painting teachers are also great sculptors. I'm sure one of them could teach a class.
So yes, she says that.
The university cannot hire a part-time professor.
The university can hire a part-time professor because the university said that the professor is retiring, the only professor is retiring, and they don't have the budget to hire a new one. But the student says that if they don't have enough money to hire a new full-time professor, they can always hire a part-time professor. Or she also gives another suggestion. What does she say?
Hmm.
She says that, I think she says, sorry, forgetting. She says that other professors from the department have secondary fields. So some of the professors that teach, let's say, painting or drawing also know about sculpture. So they could ask one of the professors that is already working in the university to teach this class. right? So basically ask professors that have secondary fields to teach this class. So that way they don't have to hire a new one. Okay, guys, so careful with your listening skills. I see that you guys are having some problems. You gotta practice because, as I told you before, this isn't just about speaking anymore, like question 1. In this case, you guys have to put into practice your reading and your listening skills as well, right? So that means vocabulary, that means speed, that means expressions and stuff. So is it okay so far? Do you guys agree with what I have in my notes? Do you have any questions before we move on?
I have a question, teacher. 45 seconds to read all the paragraphs is too low.
Yeah.
I only read the 50% and making my best before.
Okay. To be honest, I mean, it depends on the student. It is possible to read it in 45 seconds, but it takes practice. So what I would suggest is try to practice reading at different speeds, because, for example, you would also have to read an entire passage in 3 minutes for the reading section. So you are going to have to read fast. Now, it takes practice, but it is possible. What I would suggest you do to improve is try to shorten the time little by little. So first, measure how much time it takes you to read the entire thing. And then try to also scan the text. So sometimes you don't have to read everything. You know what you're looking for. So first, look for the change on. Then try to look for the change and one reason. And then the change and the 2 reasons. And remember that at the end of the day, as we said before, the most important part is the change, right? So at least you should be aiming for understanding very well the change. And maybe if for some reason you don't have time to read the reasons, it won't be such a big deal if you have the change, okay? But I would suggest that you practice the speed at which you're reading and try to see what is holding you down. If it's vocabulary, or if it's comprehension, maybe you're trying to translate from English to Spanish. So try to see what is it that is slowing you down, and so that you can work on it. Because it is possible to read in 45 seconds, but it takes practice.
Okay, teacher.
Okay. Any other question? All right, guys. So you have this information. What do you do with it? Let's see. Technically, the question is, maybe somebody can read it. Could someone please read the question?
No, I can read, teacher. The woman expresses her opinion of the change that has been announced. State her opinion and explain her reasons for holding that opinion.
Thank you. So the question, as you guys can read, is mostly asking you to focus on the student, right? It says, the woman in the conversation expresses her opinion of the change that has been announced in the reading, and the instructions are clear. State her opinion and explain her reasons. So are they asking you to talk about the reading? Not really, right? But then why do they give you the reading? Because you need some context. You need to have context to understand the listening, but you also need to provide context when you're speaking. You need to think of this in this way. They are asking you to summarize the listening, but it has to be in a way that anybody who's listening, your response, can understand everything, both the reading and the listening. So you have to make sure that you're explaining this, not just summarizing. You have to explain the content of what you heard and what you read in a way that everybody who hears your response can understand without reading the text and listening to the conversation. Guys? So let's see what you guys have to do. You have 30 seconds to prepare, remember? During this time, we can probably talk about this tomorrow, what to do during your preparation time. To be honest, it depends. So I can give you some feedback while I'm seeing how you're doing. For example, what I personally did, the problem that I had in the speaking section was that I took so many notes. To be honest, I can read fast and I can also take notes fast. So I took too many notes about the listening mostly. And when I was speaking, I was looking at my notes and I was almost reading and I was almost trying to say everything. I was like, so there's a word here, I need to say that word. There's this other word, I need to talk about that. So I was looking at my notes and I was trying to say everything and trying to fit everything into the 60-second response, which is not possible. Remember that you need to summarize the reading and the listening. So obviously it's more than obvious that you have to summarize the information. You do not have to mention everything. And my problem was that I was trying to mention everything. So what did I do during this preparation time? I had my notes and I started crossing out the things that weren't so relevant to the response. So if there were a few ideas that I thought were not so important to mention, then I would cross them out. If I saw any ideas that were really important to mention, I would maybe highlight them, circle them, and try to classify the information in my notes. So that's what I did when I was preparing, because my problem was that I had so much in my notes. But obviously, that's not going to be the same for you guys. Maybe you have a problem with, let's say, articulating. You have a problem with pronouncing the words. So in that case, maybe you want to practice. If you see a couple of words that you don't know how to pronounce, you can practice trying to kind of get in the mood, in the rhythm of speaking, and you can practice your speaking there during those 30 seconds. I've seen that other students just stay in silence. They don't do anything. They just think, or they clear their minds. If that works for you, because you tend to get really nervous, and this works for students who get really nervous. They just breathe in, breathe out, take a deep breath, and then they start speaking when the time is up. So depending on what your weaknesses are, you can do something different during that preparation time. Either classifying your notes, practicing articulating, maybe putting the words together. You have your notes, but you don't know how to connect them. So you can start thinking about how to connect the ideas. I don't know, some students even write down the template. So it really depends. And I will tell you based on what I can see when we're practicing, but I'm giving you some ideas, okay? So you guys you need to practice, you need to see what it is that you need and try to work on that during that preparation. Okay, sometimes some students, let's say, have problems with the grammar. So if that's your case, then you want to look at the verbs, and maybe you have problems conjugating verbs, you're going to look at the verbs in your notes and try to see what tense it should be in, if it's plural or singular. So it really depends. Okay, so I can't really tell you do this during those 30 seconds. But what I will tell you is what you have to do during these 60 seconds. And that's something that everybody has to do. Okay, it has to be the same. So let's see how to speak. Any questions, by the way? Is it all good?
Yes.
Yes, everything's good.
Okay, guys. So you have 60 seconds to speak. During the first 10 seconds, and I really don't want you guys to go over it, you have to have a short introduction, a really brief introduction. What are you going to do in your introduction? You're going to do two things. First, you're going to state the student's opinion, which is what the question asked, right? State her opinion. You're going to state the student's opinion, whether it's in favor or against. You can say the student in the conversation is against or supports, depending on the opinion of the student. So that is the opinion. And then the second thing that you guys are going to do is you're going to mention the change. So you're going to say, you're going to do these both things at once. The student in the conversation opinion is against the idea of, and now you mention the change. And remember that I told you when you were taking notes from the reading to always focus on the verb. You have to start with the verb here, and you have to put it in ing. It has to be a gerund. So you're not going to say the idea of eliminate. You have to say eliminating, changing, hiring, discontinuing, always with ings. So the student in the conversation is against the idea of eliminating the sculpture program. That's it. That is your introduction. 10 seconds should be enough. Opinion and change. Okay, guys? Is that okay so far? Any questions about this first 10 seconds of our response?
Everything's all right.
Okay. Now, what happens after that? Now you have 50 seconds, so you're going to use 25 seconds for the first reason that the student gives. So you're always focusing on the student. Now, you forget about the reading, okay? I will give you some other tips later. But for now, you're going to explain the student's first reason during your next 25 seconds. And finally, during the last 25 seconds you're going to study the student's second reason. So as easy as that, summarize the reasons that the student gives. Now, some things that you have to consider. First thing, use transitions. Please use transitions. You have to say, first of all, first, to begin with, to start, whatever you want to use, but you have to have a transition there. Same thing here, you have to say in addition, moreover, furthermore. Second thing, careful with the pronouns. Don't say he if it's a she. And finally, you need to give credit to the student. One mistake that is very commonly made is not giving credit to the material. What happens if you do this? If you say, the student in the conversation is against the idea of eliminating the sculpture program. First of all, students are interested in taking these classes. It's just that they don't have time. The information is correct, it's accurate, grammar is good, delivery is good, but you guys are not giving credit to the student. You're making it sound like it's your opinion, right? Like you are saying that, but you're not saying that. You're just reporting what somebody else already said. You're acting like a reporter, right? Están actuando como un reportaje, ¿verdad? Ustedes tienen que darle crédito y decir, ella dijo que, él dice que, ¿no? No pueden decirlo solamente sin decir eso, porque si no, sería como si ustedes lo estuvieran diciendo desde su punto de vista. Pero esta no es su opinión, sino la de ella, ¿no? So you guys have to say, she explains, she believes, she thinks, she says, she states, she claims, she argues. You can use different reporting verbs, and they have to be in the simple present, presente simple. ¿Por qué? Porque hablamos de opiniones. Cuando hablamos de opiniones y de hechos y de rutinas, se utiliza el presente simple. Entonces no dicen, she said, she explained. You say, she explains, she says, she believes. Okay, guys? Entonces, eso es lo que tienen que tener cuidado. Transiciones, siempre. El pronombre correcto. Si no se acuerdan, digan simplemente the student. Reporting verb en el presente simple. Okay, guys? Pero simplemente si se aprenden el template, ya tienen todo eso. No tienen que pensar en, ok, una transición acá. Simplemente acordarse el template. Okay, guys? And you explain the reasons while she gives. Is it okay so far? ¿Se entiende esta parte, chicos?
Yes, teacher. Are we going to practice with this exercise of the sculpture program?
No, not really. We don't have much time today to practice, but tomorrow we'll be practicing with other questions. If you want, you can also do this one, but we're going to practice with many questions tomorrow. What I can do today is give you a sample response. Okay, so I'm going to try in the 60 seconds so that you see how I organize my time, things I say, things I don't, and how to use the temp. And tomorrow you guys will be practicing.
And one question one more question. I was wondering, in the verb removing, the student in the conversation is against the idea of removing this culture program, instead say eliminating.
Moving. Yeah, you can use that. It's a synonym of eliminating in a way.
Yeah, is that a good one? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you can use it. For sure. Any other questions? Yeah, so I'm going to give you an example of how I would do this question so that you get to see my timing and the template and everything else. The student in the conversation is against the idea of eliminating the sculpture program. First of all, she explains that it is not true that students are not interested in taking these classes. Instead, our majors do not have time to take the courses they are really interested in. This is because of the requirements that are given to our major students. She says that it would be better if the university changed the requirements so that they can take the classes they want. In addition, she believes that if the professor is retiring and the university doesn't have the money to buy a new one, maybe they could consider hiring a part-time professor, or perhaps even asking another professor from the department to teach this class, given that most professors have secondary fields and another one could teach. Okay, guys? So as you can see, I was trying to accommodate my response to the time that I had. In the first reason, to be honest, it was being too long, and I was like, I really have a lot of time, so I continued speaking, but of course, I was trying not to repeat the same ideas. And I don't know if I sounded a little repetitive, maybe. But in general, that is kind of how it should go. Of course, you're okay. It's okay if you make some pauses, if you make some grammar mistakes. I probably made a couple. It's all right, not a problem. But ideally, you should aim for demonstrating fluency. The way that somebody who's fluent would speak. Try to speak calmly. Try not to hurry up too much, because that's why I took my time. I went slowly but safely, because if you hurry up too much, then you're going to make more mistakes. Don't waste time in the introduction. A lot of students, I don't know why, waste too much time here. Save time in the introduction so you have enough time to explain the reasons. Okay, guys? So what do you think? Do you have any questions now that you've heard my response as well? What do you think about this task so far?
It was great. That was a great illustration. Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Walter. I'm glad you liked it.
It was really fast, teacher.
Was it? Was I speaking fast?
Yes, but also I think we understand, but it's I think it's more difficult for us to think and speak as fast as you do, as fast as you did.
Yeah, of course. But think about it. I took the test. Long time ago. I've been teaching TOEFL for a couple of years now. So of course it's going to be easier for me, but it's practice. So if you guys have some time to practice, we're going to be practicing. To be honest, I could even say that you guys are going to find this task very easy. Maybe it doesn't seem like it now, but I would even say that it's easier than the previous one. Because for this question, you don't have to think that much. It's just basically summarizing what they already said. You don't have to be thinking or coming up with ideas the way that you did in the previous one, right? You were thinking of, okay, I have to think of one reason and one example. So in this case, you don't have to do a lot of thinking. It's just summarizing. So I guess in that way, it is easier. Also, vocabulary helps a lot, because remember, this is about university. So you guys need to understand a little bit how the American university works. You need to be familiar with talking about this. using this type of vocabulary, connectors. And it's also I would say it's also a matter of confidence. When you feel that you can do it, you do it better. So practice, we're going to practice tomorrow. You can practice on your own as well. We have our speaking sessions. I don't think you guys are taking them, but you should be taking them. And I'm pretty sure you guys can do it.
Thank you, teacher. Of course, the goal to us is get to give a summary as you, really, really well organized and concise. And I agree that we have to improve mainly our vocabulary, because in the reading section, in the listening part too, we can easily lose the. There you have it. How do I say hilo? We can lose the train.
Okay.
If we don't know some word that it's on our way. So
Yes,
yeah, we need to improve it.
I agree. And that is actually true for not only for the speaking section, but also for listening and reading. But another thing, you don't necessarily have to know all of the words. There are many times when I encounter words that I don't know, because nobody knows all of the words. But you have to also get used to the idea of encountering words that you're not familiar with and still, being able to go through them. Try to guess what it means by context, or if you really don't know, then just leave it there for a second and still understand the main ideas, because it's all about the main ideas. So yes, vocabulary is really important, especially for, I'd say, more than for the speaking and listening. If speaking and writing, it's for the listening and reading, academic vocabulary. And the only way to, I would say, expand your vocabulary is by reading and listening. So read as much as you can academic material, listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, academic material as well. And that's how you'll improve and you'll expand your vocabulary. But yes, I do agree. Thank you. Thank you guys for your comments.
No, thanks for the information, teacher.
Okay, guys. Any other question before we go? Okay, guys. So please, today is Tuesday, right? So don't forget our daily survey. It should be on your screens. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll be practicing. So don't worry if you didn't have time to practice today. Okay, guys. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, teacher. Thank you.
Tomorrow,
Bye.
goodbye, teacher.